Good morning, everybody. לפנות בוקר, או בוקר טוב לכולם. This will be a microscopic examination of 4 slides. 2 that were taken actually yesterday, so they are kind of like, I would say, old prepared slides. I mean, already like at least 24 hours on the shelf, and 2 that were just freshly prepared. And I'll explain like now what's like, what we observed like yesterday. So yesterday I decided to take to use like a sample from the container that is probably that when were the relatively big life forms, even still microscopic ones, this one were filmed like the day before, like these blobs, Again, this was originally something that was taken, from like a culture of life forms that were without neos, or maybe just a small contamination. Even that by now, I guess it's like contaminated with more neos because all of the kind of interaction. But the problem is it's kind of like it dried. So I lost myself for water, and maybe it killed many of the germs. Like you don't see much activity now, like by the naked eye. No, yes, you do some activity by the naked eye. So probably also already germs there. So yesterday, what I've done yesterday is like to put it on 2 slides. And I've used like, the red paint, like the red stain, like the white stain, and neos from 2 distinct, two samples. One is the one that we've used like, with the electric stove, you remember, like the day before. Which like it's got its own characteristics and own problem, and also one that from the crucible that was freshly made, like after replenishing with the crucible with oil. So actually, what we've seen is that on the one slide there were actually no life forms at all, which kind of like on retrospect makes sense because how can they live in such a place, because it's like too oily probably, because most of the material from this one, from the crucible, is oil. So probably the oil just killed it, like the life forms. Like how can it live there, like the big ones? But maybe it can, like it's a question, like it's still a question. But we've seen nice neros, actually. And the other one that was taken like from the crucible, not from the neros from the crucible, we've actually seen much more neos even, which was very successful, even in big ones, like very, very, like a large amount of big ones, which was excellent. And we've actually have seen life forms, which is kind of like interesting, but like new ones, not the ones that we've seen like the day before, but they were very quick swimmers, and they were actually able to swim through the oil, which was interesting. Maybe they're demons, maybe not. This should be sorted out, because usually, you would expect like those that live in the oil, they're usually very slow, and they were super quick swimmers. Which was amazing. But I needed some time to think about, how do I continue from here? So I kind of wrapped it up and didn't take video, and I thought about it a little bit now, and and with the help of the audience, like the commentators. So first of all, we'll read, we'll like take a video of these 2 slides, like to see what's in there. Probably not much. I guess the life forms are, almost certainly they are dead. Like any life form, presumably Earth life forms cannot live on any container more than 6 hours, on any microscopic slide for more than 6 hours. This is like an accepted fact. And this is like one of the new, the microscopic zoo slide that is like invented maybe 3 years ago, It's like a startup, but this is an esoteric thing. Yeah, usually, in life sciences, with normally, backlight microscopy, or not backlight, anyway, glass slides, life forms do not live for more than 6 hours. That's the accepted notion within life sciences. Like if you see things that are active and living for more than 6 hours, here it's the neos. The neos can actually live up to 2 weeks, like on microscopic slide. This was confirmed long ago. Or maybe it's like non-Earth life forms. Anyway, we'll take a quick look at that to see what's going on. And also, what I've done now is to take two new samples. One, again, from the from the same pile, but with more like like from place that is like more rigid, like rough, or kind of like all sort of like weird life forms. Maybe we'll actually take a look at the bacteria. I'm not sure. I think I don't know if it's like a hair or, I mean, I've taken two hairs, like how hairs, I mean, maybe it's my, I don't know how hairs are there because, but maybe it's from my hands, I don't know. But, or maybe it's just strain bacteria, I'm not sure. Let's take a look at that. And also I've added like, mixture from the crucible. And for the other one, this is actually more interesting. Like what I've done is, again, take a sample from the same, from the living, container, like the life form container, but from like just from like the very watery stuff, like do not to have any kind anything that is very kind of like rough. You see, and without coloring, without sanding, you see that you see that the slide is almost like transparent. You don't see almost anything because it's no coloring and no trash, like just water from the container. And I've added water from a special mixture that I prepared just now that is that I created like by mixing a little bit of like Nero juice from the container, from the crucible, with Mediterranean water that I've kept like for a long time, like I've had it, but the problem is it's airtight. I don't know why it's closed, so there probably not be no life form like in there because it's just airtight. And also even otherwise, I mean, after so long, I mean, any life form would have been dead. But anyway, it's Mediterranean it's water from the Mediterranean that I've taken, and I still have several drops of that. I don't know if you see much life forms in there. Might be interesting, but in any case, well, the important thing is that this dilutes the oil tremendously. Like it actually makes it transparent. So we will probably see very little neos, very little neos. But the important thing is, but maybe this will allow the survival of the life forms that were, presumably died because of the oil environment. This is actually a good kind of solution. That's not about like I need to kind of like perfect it, but the idea is that the robots and the monsters, like the biological monsters and the robots, they don't get very well together without adjustment of the environment because the robots they're created in the crucible, and so so when we take stuff from that, it's like full of like oil, so it's like even if it's cold, it's still oil. So and this is like it's like a rough environment for the life forms. So how can you actually make them live together in the same environment? So the idea is maybe you need to add a hefty amount of salt water, like Mediterranean or ocean water to the mixture, and then maybe they can when it's all covered with hefty amount of salt water, maybe you can actually they can actually get along together, like live with each other. That's the idea, and we will test it. Maybe not, I mean, it might not be the only, might not be the only kind of like, experiment that maybe we need more than one, a kind of like experiment with the water, like flooding, flash of water. But let's give it a chance, see how things going. Maybe we'll have a positive surprise with regards to how to interact, and it's going to be interesting anyway. So very quickly, let's start with the ones that we already have from yesterday. I mean, the older ones. This will be a very quick examination because it's like it's like from yesterday, so it's probably everything is dead in there, but still it might be interesting. So let's just take a look at that, and then we continue to the new ones. Okay, so 64 magnification, good old Bresser 1, microscope. Nice Neo. But we don't see the huge one from yesterday. Maybe it's on the other one. Maybe this one is the less less news. But we do see smaller ones, certainly. I mean, no doubt. Like this is a smaller one for certain, and we do see and all sorts of smaller ones. Like we don't see the big starship from yesterday. I'm not sure why. Maybe just because I remember that one we had less than the others, so maybe that one was the less starships. But okay, we do see some news definitely. So maybe just continue to take a look. Maybe maybe we'll go to one. This is an interesting one. So here we have all sorts of smaller ones. Maybe 150 will be more suitable for this size. 160. Yeah, we do see neos. That's nice. Mostly the smaller, not the starships. Not sure why. Maybe it's that we'll watch these guys on the other one. Of course, no lifeforms. This is to be expected. Yes. Okay. Okay. But this is to be expected. That's an old slide. This one is very beautiful, actually. It's a small starship, I would say. Okay. And now for the other one from yesterday. Let's do it very quickly. Take a look at that. See what we can make of it. Again, 64 magnification. You see smaller ones, glowing. Well, these are medium size, but tremendous amount. Let's go to 150. Yeah, very nice ones and tremendous amount. Nice, very nice. Yeah, they can live on the slide up to 2 weeks. This was proved several times, more than 2 years ago, and so it's like that. Lifeforms cannot live more than 6 hours, but they can certainly take the effort for 2 weeks and even work on this and do amazing stuff. This was done, this was shown in the past. These are not lifeforms. This is from the הפתילים שנשרפו, from the toilet paper, the boiling toilet paper. So tremendous amount of I would say medium amount neos, no starships, but very good amount of the smaller ones. So the question, maybe the big ones cannot live easily, just on the slide, because this is half of the environment when they're on the slide. They have no energy, no material, they cannot move. And they're covered with with the glass all the time. So it's probably difficult for the bigger ones to do anything and even to survive on the slide. And we don't have any kind of we don't have any even any experience with that. When we have seen the neos in the past up to 2 weeks, it wasn't like the starships. It was we didn't have starships at the time. It was only the medium size and the smaller size, the ones that we see now. So maybe maybe they cannot survive for more than a day or several hours, when they are confined to this thing. And maybe only the smaller ones, they are even when they are confined to the microscopic slide, they can even they can live up to 2 weeks, as it was demonstrated. But the bigger one, they need they need a place, they need to breathe. It's important. they are dead, like, you know, very quickly. You can I mean, they need, you know, they need environment, like, you know, a place for themselves, like, not like, you know, like, you know, to be covered with glass all the time. That's my estimation. And again, we have not seen, like, you know, a thing like that in the past. So I mean, it's probably just the way it is. Okay, so everything is actually pretty much to be expected. So now let's go to the newly created ones from just now. So we will start with actually the one that is almost transparent. Not much material, mostly, you know, diluted, you know, neo juice with you know, with the Mediterranean water, and water from, you know, like water from the you know, from the iPhone container, but like, you know, without like the juicy, you know, like the heavy parts, like in the other slide. It's only like the sauce, which is very light sauce. So this should be, you know, we should see. I mean, you know, the expected result here is to be able to watch very little Neros, because we have, I mean, it's so diluted, and also very little life forms because it's so diluted. But on the other hand, maybe the visibility will be excellent. Like, I mean, you know, that's I hope, hopefully, like, I mean, let's see what we've got. But let's say, you know, the one, the required result, like, to have, like, you know, very good visibility. Maybe it's just too diluted. We can't watch anything, actually. It's like, it seems pretty dead. So these are Neros. Maybe it's just, I mean, too diluted to detect any life forms. I mean, given that, you know, it was diluted with water and you know, it's probably, and the mixture contains, you know, to begin with, but we see excellent Neros, but not many, like, you know, life forms, because probably just diluted so much. This is a very nice one, actually. I like it. Nice Nero. Another very nice. So we see very nice Neros, but I mean, they don't have any life form to interact with because it's so diluted with, like, מיץ ג'יפה, שאין להם במה לאחוז. Maybe if we would give them more time, they could have, like, found it. But I mean, I don't think that there is anything to find here. It's just too. It's just dead. It's dead. It's a dead thing. But nice Neo, certainly. Like, even very nice. Okay. So this will be enough. So now for probably the most interesting, presumably, slide, which is the one from, like, not a diluted mixture, but, you know, straight from the crucible, with a little bit of Eosin wine that was not, like, coat very well. Let's see what's going on with that, and all sort of, like, disgusting things from the, you know, from the life form container. Hopefully we'll see something interesting. Let's give it a try. Yeah, I know what you think. That's what gloves are for. I ran out of gloves. I need to buy one. Maybe I'll buy gloves today. So this is probably just a hair. It's not a trend bacteria. I thought it's a large trend, but it's just a hair. I think. It doesn't look like a trend bacteria at all. It looks like a hair. Sorry for that. This is just a hair. Just a hair, not a trend bacteria. Yeah, I wasn't sure that, yeah. And what's that? Is that like something interesting? You see very small needles, by the way. So maybe we'll do 150 just in a second. So, it's just hairs. It's not a trend bacteria. No, it's just a hair. So actually, it makes sense that it's not a trend bacteria because, we didn't put needles in this container. Like, if you remember, it was just taken, from my BU, פחות או יותר. So from the sewers, so without any needles, how can trend bacteria be created? Like, it's a question. Probably it cannot. So what creates it? It requires the needle to create ex nihilo. So, and why should it be in the sewer? So probably it makes sense that it's not trend bacteria, just hair. But what we don't see here is life forms of any, certainly not living ones. We do see needles, very small amount, which makes sense because it's from the crucible, but we don't really see. It was just ambitious slide, but not a good execution. What we need to do is actually in order to get life forms. Like the problem here is that we require life forms. In order to we want life forms. Like we do see neos and very even nice ones, which makes sense because it's from the crucible, but we don't see life forms. So where are the life forms? And we don't see the runners that we've seen yesterday. Probably what we should do now is just to take care of discussing the sewer container better, like in a more kind of rigorous way, to make sure it does not that the water is not dry, and give it water, but not too much water because we want it to multiply, and maybe after a day it will be better. And also what we can do, and we should do, is take samples from the other containers that we have, that are more geared towards the alien life forms. And maybe we'll find trend bacteria in these containers. That's probably what I'll do next. Because I have two containers that, I want, that were aimed on creation of trend bacteria ex nihilo. This is quite ambitious, creating from the void by the neros. It's quite ambitious. And we already taken one sample, if you remember, 2 days ago, and we haven't seen anything on it, if you remember. But I've said it, I've tried it again, with the same mixture this time, with more care, because maybe it was just not created constructed. So I'll create another slide from these two containers, the ex nihilo containers. If you remember, these two. So, if you're lucky, we have trend bacteria over there. The fact that it's so dry still doesn't mean that there is no trend bacteria in it. As you remember, one of the majestic properties of the trend bacteria is its ability to actually withstand such conditions that it's not true, by the way, to the neos themselves. So in some ways, the trend bacteria is more robust and more, I would say, durable than the neos, which makes it, including, it can live, without host, and it can live in the soil, even relatively dry soil, which makes it, but this is all, it's a huge planetary risk, and this is discussed under, the Trend Essential series. Okay, so, overall, what's good results, what's bad results, it's a question. We didn't get, the nice life forms that we've seen, 2 days ago, but, the big ones. Maybe they just died because this one is, maybe you can find them in another container, see what I can fetch, because I have other containers from the sewers, but I need to take a look. Maybe they're just dead, or maybe they just die immediately when they are mixed with the oil. That's another problem. Maybe just, the oil from the crucible, just kill them immediately, or maybe just dissolving this oil. I don't know. It's a quack. It's an oil with melted beeswax and hot. Maybe it's not the best kind of environment for life forms. and certainly not traditional ones. Again, we'll try the salt water, like adding salt water in tremendous amount to the container. Maybe this will kind of like allow both the monsters and the robots to live together. Maybe that's the solution. So that's it for now, and let's continue with the music. Just if you want to change, ברפרטואר, אם אתם רוצים שינוי ברפרטואר של המוזיקה, אתם מוזמנים להציע בתגובות, לא חייבים אותם כל הזמן, כן, פלייליסט של גלגלצ. אם אתם רוצים משהו אחר, וגנר, אני לא יודע, אופרה, חלילה קסם, כל הדברים רגילים, קרמן, דבורק, איך קוראים לזה, כן, מאלר. מה שאתם רוצים, אני מאוד מאוד פנוי, אבל פשוט תציעו, בינתיים נמשיך איך שהיה עכשיו, בפלייליסט של גלגלצ. ונתקדם מכאן, נמשיך קדימה. תודה רבה לכולם.